All right, so I just want to record this as a way to make some content because I don't think I have a way to advertise without sounding like an advertiser or a marketer in the in the grooming groups. So here we go. I have an idea from a cold call that I made to a salon in Maryland. So thank you, Jordan, for taking the call. I wrote down her description of kind of what's missing for her in online booking. So she brought up an interesting point that for her, it's a competitive advantage to have salons that can, stick with one dog. So if there's a dog that has difficulty with people or new people, then if they stay with the same groomer over time, then the dog feels safe and secure and behaves better. So I thought that was an excellent point. I have seen this in other booking systems, but I think it's usually, I don't know. I know Square does this, but anyway, we just want to see if we can implement this. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my Epic that I use about this. I'm using an Epic. I'm using like the product management approach, where you work with a designer and you design the thing first, and then you kind of propose that to your stakeholder. In this case, my stakeholder is the prospect that I cold called. So okay, so I'm basically looking at my existing code for that and working on adding this functionality. So choosing the groomer. So we have it right now where the groomer is we already have which groomer should online booking check availability for. So right now I'm just going to go with a hypothesis that probably within the groomers that you have, you can specify whether or not they show up in online booking, but then there's a subordinate checkbox underneath here that says whether or not they should appear for the customer to choose. So in the booking widget here. So I'm going to go over here and just check here. So we're talking about, we would want to add the groomer selection after specifying the service. I just thought for a second that there could be an incompatibility here where if we have services per groomer and the person picks the service and then the groomer doesn't have availability for that service, then, or it changes for some reason, then we have to account for that. So let me just write that here. So I'm basically refining with the AI here. So let's account for. I'm not going to account for that now because we're trying to do lean. So that is a thing to consider in the future, but we'll let that naturally emerge. Okay, so let's revise. Let's kind of comb through here. So yes, yeah, so we want to do this subordinate checkbox, and then receives online bookings, and then visible on widget. So yeah, the sub checkbox. Then the new step right before date and time, because obviously if you choose a groomer, it will determine the availability, right? Because we have groomer specific availability. New wizard groomer selection, allow customers to choose their groomer is enabled. So I didn't want to do this because this doesn't seem like it's necessary. It seems like the subordinate checkbox should account for that. Showing another. Showing groomer in booking widget would provide the necessary functionality. So just be a little bit Socratic here with the AI. And then let's just check here in terms of implementation. So all right, so then there was the other thing, which was something that Katie brought up from Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. She wanted to be able to have somebody see, have a customer see who the dog was groomed with before, which jives really well with what Jordan said. So returning customers recognized by phone number or email. So we have to do a lookup phone number. So we're going to look at reach an appointment to find the groomer ID. And then if the groomer is enabled for online booking and visible in the widget, show a prominent card at the top. All right, I like this idea. This would be better than, I was thinking of just like choosing the list and then having like a green, emboldened green part. All right, we could do that. If the previous groomer is enabled but not visible, don't show the suggestion. So this is an edge case. Okay. If the previous groomer is enabled but not visible, don't show the suggestion. That's valid, right? If multiple pets have different previous groomers, show the suggestion based on the currently selected pet. Yeah, of course, because we select the pet before we do this step. So, all right, these are the changes to the data model, which means the tables and how they hang together. All right, so we have a new column, which would be a Boolean true false. To assignees, that's an old name. It should have been called users, but whatever. Such as technical debt. Oops. And then, so we add that. This is just the alter table, add column. Receives only bookings concept can remain a salon level config. The receives online bookings concept. Actually, I wasn't going to add this to the database yet, and I wasn't going to do any API changes because I just want this to live in the Epic, so as if it's a design, because I don't want to complicate the system that's working for other users right now. So UI summary, blah blah blah. But we do have to find like an equivalent of this. It's really just going to be the state of the Epic file, which is this thing. Okay, so summary, the settings panel, add allow customers to choose their groomer, master toggle. I don't think we need this. So yeah, so we'll just put that there. Let's say again. Should be able to omit this, okay? And then we're not going to do the table stuff. We're not going to do API changes. Okay. Settings panel, show on booking widget, sub checkbox. Yes. Per groomer. Groomer selection screen with cards. So we'll let it come up with a proposal of the design. And if it's good, then we go with it. If not, we change it. This is the good thing about being both product manager and designer and implementer. Date time selection screen, accept original groomer ID to filter to a single groomer's slots. Okay, so this is the date time selection screen. Accept optional groomer ID to filter to a single groomer's slots. Okay. Because we're only gonna have to look at one groomer if it's specified. Okay. Edge cases, very important. Only one visible groomer. Skip the selection step. So let's see here. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to choose from anyone. Okay, I mean, this is a nice... I mean, I think I would just say you'll be a little bit presumptuous if there's only one visible groomer. let's think about this. All right, let's write it out. So let's say if there's only one visible groomer. Okay, let's go down to the bottom here. Okay, if there's only one visible groomer, we should probably continue to show the groomer as the single step and specify at present name available. And offer the next step button. So it's a little bit less presumptuous sounding, obviously. All right, so another edge case. Previous groomer no longer employed. Disabled, don't show the suggestion, fall back to normal selection. Okay, that makes sense. So let's just confirm here. Confirmed, agree. And then here, allow customer to choose. Allow customers to choose is off. Skip groomer step entirely. Availability merges as it does today. So we'll just, I guess, be over specific and say, oops, we're going to say that we're not using that checkbox, so this case doesn't matter. But I think there's another case that actually not having this checkbox might stop us from having to deal with, and that is we are not using allow customers to choose because we're leveraging the fact that the subordinate checkbox handles that. Also prevent, I usually add as much context and reasoning as I can in order to prevent ambiguity and more, dithering back and forth. So this also prevents us from dealing with the case that someone chooses this but doesn't select any actual groomers. Display. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, we want to just leverage React State for now and not do any database changes or implement any APIs. All right, so let's see here. So this is AWS's Kiro. Let's see if we can actually come out with somewhat of a solution here. I might stop with just some result and not all of it. So, groomer selection screen. Okay, so this is a new screen being added to Canvas components. It really should be in the booking widget. So it has these steps. It's interesting. I wonder what those steps are about. I'll look into it in a bit. I'm going to ask it, what are we doing with steps in here? This should probably be on the outside driving the set of wizard steps. All right, so groomer selection screen is being added into the online booking epic. That makes sense. Now we're adding into online booking epic the state Selected groomer state. That makes sense. All of this is going to make sense. So then we're outlining the selected groomers. Selected groomers. So we're adding in the show on booking widget checkbox. Hang on one second. So yeah, we have to make sure that this goes in the right spot. We had an abstraction for this, but I guess it didn't abstract it all the way, so we'll get there. It's the first time we have, well, it's the second time we have some branching flow in this, because the first time is if it's an existing customer or not. That makes sense. Filter the availability based on the selected groomer. So none of this is actually implemented with any kind of like data retrieval yet. That's only like when I get the go ahead from a couple customers. It's just going to verify it, but for now, let me just check over here. So we should see the available groomers here, but it's not showing. Huh. Interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay. See, it's one of those things where it's like you have to click in to discover it, and that kind of ends up causing an issue. So we would want to expose that before the user clicks. Right, so when you're like that, you would want to be able to see it right there. So let's just tweak that. Show on booking widget. Show on booking widget. So kindly adjust the behavior of the show on booking widget checkbox such that it is visible, but in a disabled state, so that the user understands that it's an option. It doesn't have to discover it. Or actually, instead of in a disabled state, so checkbox such that it is visible, and if the user clicks directly on it, it also enables the parent checkbox of the which groomer to check availability for. I need to say, please ensure to use the data ID, data test ID for testing later. Because we automated tests on this. I was thinking about that last night. I noticed it stopped for a while. And we need that for running tests because this is getting really complex, so we want to test it on a regular basis. Also, complexity is, I guess, just the result of collecting lots of requirements and trying to like honor lots of different flows. So like we're gonna have to like step back and tame the complexity by using different techniques, like maybe even like an online grooming setup wizard or something like that. Online booking setup wizard. Okay, let's see here. So now if Kelly's not selected, boom. So now if she's selected like that, let's pretend I'm an existing user, the existing customer. I choose my pet, continue, go for a groom. Okay, Stu went ahead and inserted, you'll be booked with Kelly. Okay. Uh, let's see here, is she available? There we go, we found one for Kelly. All right, we're really gonna improve this so that we can, the customer can see right away the next available booking. It's probably a good idea.